Right now, we will be diving deep down the rabbit hole, just a little bit of the phenomenon.
Gangstalking.
Brought to you by your boy Steve-O, following Steve-O. With that being said, let's jump right into this story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you comment down below. Let's get into it, G. The reason why I can't accept this as being a delusion is that because it actually happened to me. I am saying this even after years of medication and discussion with my family. There are people in organized groups. These people look to harm innocent people. It is the reason why I got sociophobia. Yeah, I know, right? I must say, I have experienced this before I even knew what the word gang stalking was about. So let me just take you down a list the moment I realized it was happening. It all started with small things that you might not would expect, like people mentioning my name when I was alone at the university. Yeah, I know, right? They were saying things like, yeah, Sebastian, you was an asshole. I was alerted, but of course I thought at that moment, they gotta be talking about a different Sebastian. Another time I was in the kitchen when suddenly a man in the street shouted with an aggressive voice like something like,
You will see. We will get you people soon.
I know, right? Super random. Of course. Why should he be talking about me? Is he? Another time I crossed the street when the light was green. An older man was also crossing the street from the opposite side and suddenly shouted,
Hey, you, asshole.
completely out of nowhere. Why would anyone do this? There was no reason for this whatsoever. I was shocked. I was confused. I thought I was losing my mind. Another time I went throughout the city, but in a certain distance, three older men looked over to me and pointed directly with their finger to me. Like you. I was again alerted, and I already understood that I've been stalked because these things accumulated in a short amount of time. No, they didn't point to some special place. They looked directly towards me and pointed to me with their finger. I always ignored it like I didn't even know the word or phenomenon gang stalking. It was just that I didn't feel good anymore because of those individuals that behaved strangely. Another time I was joining a poetry slam. At that time I was working at a drinks market. And guess what? One of the participants started with a story where he claimed working in a drinks market. He kind of talked in a very uncanny and weird way, always pausing in between to make some type of sick behavior. It wasn't even funny. What he was talking about, it was the way that he was doing it. Like some type of lunatic dude. And the people laughed at him being so strange, of course. It could all be super random, but for me in that moment, he was addressing me. He was mirroring me to laugh about me. I said nothing and I just watched his show. At the end, he even became strangely serious in his words, and it sounded like a warning the way that he was talking. And of course, he looked over in my direction. Now, you can say it was all just a misinterpretation by me, but I know it wasn't. I didn't read about delusion or gang stalking at that time. I experienced very strange people I never met in my life before. I took a night out and I went down the street to a bar. It felt like some strangers did not just talk to me for some small talk, but started asking me weird questions like this was some type of weird interview or something. Of course, again, it could have been something else, what I perceived in that moment. But to all these strange things I was experiencing, this couldn't be any coincidence. Another time in a bar, it got even clearer. They gave me unmistakable hints. The way they talked to other individuals and the aggression one of them had held close to me. He insisted on taking me to another bar. I was perplexed of the whole situation. And these guys were clearly a red flag. But in my feeling of unsafety, I couldn't just move on. So I went with this guy to the bar, where he talked about certain stuff I won't explain or go into critical detail because that shit was just too personal. I can only say that, he wanted to talk to me about drugs, or better yet, he wanted me to take drugs. And he held a drinking glass to my neck to demonstrate how he felt about me. Strangely, the police was also in front of the bar at that moment, but they just stood there with a car. I don't know why, and nothing happened. I managed to get away at some point without escalating into some situation of aggression towards me. I would have, and I mean I would have, opened my mouth, but they clearly demonstrated to me that there was more people watching. If you still don't believe me, well, here comes the final thing that got me to realize that I'm in a huge shit situation. Not just a situation with complete strangers. I don't even know, but they know me. One night, I was ready to sleep in bed when suddenly a large group of people walked by in the street and shouted. They shouted my name and other things, but they also behaved very strangely. They shouted things in a kind of cryptic way, as if they were trained to do so. Like instead of saying, fuck you, they would just say something like,
Hey, I got a fork too.
a pretty bad example, but sometimes they smeared the words so bystanders, they didn't want them to hear the direct message. Shouting my name and threatening me with certain shouts. One thing they said in clear words I remember was,
Sebastian, come on. Come over here. Get over here.
they wanted to provoke. And that night it happened, I didn't even react. I thought the next day they were gone, but they did it for several weeks. And that was the time when I moved more frequently to my parents' again. I wasn't welcome in the city I was living in anymore. And that was the time when I became very sick. Not before, but after they did all this shit. I even isolated myself because of them. Well, pretty much because of their suitable stalking and harassment. I started doing weird shit until I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Sure, I am schizophrenic, but the people that made me sick were real. I never changed a thing in his store. I told it multiple times to my family, but no one, and I mean no one, would believe me. Most people don't even understand what schizophrenia is about. And when I tell them this story, they like, huh? Okay. No one believes that this form of stalking and harassment is real. I only told you things in a way that feels quite comfortable to me. If you still don't believe it, it even happened when I got medicated in the psychiatry. The meds never changed my paranoia. These people are real, and one of them even showed up in the situation I was in. Suddenly, out of nowhere, assaulted me with certain words that were clearly, unmistakably demonstrating me that he was one of them. So we were all just chilling, waiting in front of the kitchen for a meal. At that time, I was in a wheelchair because I had a accident due to my psychosis. He said to the other people.
Look at that, cripple.
None reacted. None showed courage. I wasn't saying anything because I wanted to be out that motherfucker. I was just ready to get the fuck up out of there. So after all of that, this is my opinion. Organized stalking is real. They want to harm you psychologically. They will play mind tricks. They use keywords to trigger you. They catch your attention and then they start provoking you to a level where you can really get sick. It's a certain form of gaslighting, but prepared by a group. This group is aggressive, but they don't show it directly. They hide it as good as possible so no one can sue. For example, by distributing the harassment under different individuals, so one individual does pretty random shit, but it accumulates to a story when you consider all of the individuals are together. Wow. At this time, your boy Steve would like to thank everyone for tuning in to the phenomenon of story. A story for the late nights. A story for the real world. Phenomenon Gangstalking. That being said, if you have any experiences or whatsoever like this, make sure you drop it down low in the comments. I'll try my best to get back. Remember, y'all guys stay safe out there. This your boy Steve-O. With that being said, we out, gang.